Now, if you've seen the title of the video, you saw that today we're going to be talking about is Shedeur Sanders an all-time great HBCU player or HBCU quarterback? Let's get more specific. I'm going to tell you why he is. And honestly, it shouldn't be close. Let's talk about it after the bumper. Stay tuned. What is going on, everybody? What is going on, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsyJr. YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your content. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button, like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell because we upload all the time. Now, this topic of conversation came from Twitter. This Twitter handle, the Wild Card. It's a Bama State podcast, or ran by some Bama State guys that are in college at Alabama State University. Shout out to those guys, and they ran this Twitter poll, and it got some reaction. The question was: is Shedeur Sanders one of the greatest HBCU quarterbacks of all time? And out of their 109 votes, 75% of you said no. you actually said no, and I thought this was interesting, right? And the demographics are different, slightly different, but I ran this exact same poll. I was like, you know what? Let me see. I'm just curious at this point. Do you all think Shedeur Sanders is an all-time great? And they had 100 votes, and so I was seeing if I could get a few more and ran the poll myself. So this is what I decided to do. I ran hold on, let me go ahead. Well, if it wants to work. But I ran the poll as well. I said, do you believe Shedeur Sanders is an all-time great? And out of 561 votes, 67% of you said yes, whereas 33% of you said no. This is out of almost 600 votes. Now, you can go and vote on this poll, but, as you see now, we're talking about it now because, like I said, with 500, almost 600 votes is a nice, good number. And 67% of you said no, whereas on the wild card poll, 75% said no, where 67% on mine said yes. And so here's the thing. Now, obviously, there's slightly different demographics. I have more Jackson State fans on mine. And so when it got a few more votes. And so they're slightly different. They're Bama State ran podcast or based out of Alabama State University, whereas mine has more Jackson State fans. And to me, I don't think it's close. I think Shedeur Sanders will go down as one of the greatest HBCU quarterbacks of all time. The only thing that's stopping anyone, in my opinion, is stopping anyone from saying that is the fact that he left and went to Colorado. But if Shedeur would have stayed and at least played 3 years at Jackson State, let's just call it 3, there would be no denying. I still don't think there's no denying even after his 2 years, and I can show you why. In 2 years at JSU, Shedeur Sanders had outstanding numbers. I mean, whether you believe he was stat padding or the coaching staff was stat padding for him, that don't take away from his stats and his accolades and what he was able to do. He never lost a SWAC game. He's one of the few people, I don't know, I can't tell you a list off the top of my head, but one of the few quarterbacks in the history of the SWAC to go 2 years undefeated and never lose a SWAC game. That's a pretty outstanding stat, including 2 SWAC championships hosted at home that he was able to win in 2 berths to the Celebration Bowl. Now, Celebration Bowl thing is newer, right? It's less than 10 years old. So that's but that's just a feather in his cap to be able to have gone there 2 years consecutively. But let me go ahead and show you, just look at Shedeur's stats, and this is why this man, the further we get away from it, the more and more obvious it'll be that he is an all-time great when it comes to the SWAC. So if we're just looking at his career statistics, so his career statistics passing, right? In 2 years at Jackson State, 26 total games, the man had 70 passing touchdowns to only 14 interceptions. 70 passing touchdowns to only 14 interceptions, and his career completion percentage at Jackson State is 68%. Career. His sophomore year, he completed 70% of his passes. It's pretty outstanding. You add the rushing in there, you're talking about 79 total touchdowns to only 14 interceptions. So if you add his passing and rushing, you're looking at about an average over 2 years, 40 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions per year. 2-year average, 40 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. That's legendary, as he would say. That is legendary. That goes down as an all-time great. Now, I can't, and you add, if you add the accolades, like I said, 2-time SWAC champion, never lost a SWAC game, never lost a home game. He never lost a home game, a game at home. Never lost a SWAC game, never lost a game at home. Jerry Rice Award winner, the first HBCU player to win that award, meaning the best freshman in all of FCS football. SWAC Freshman of the Year, and SWAC Player of the Year sophomore year. JSU records in passing, all kinds of passing records, touchdown records, etc. And did it all in 2 years. Now, once again, this is a big if, and he's gone. He's now at Colorado, and this will always hinder the debate. Is the simple fact that he transferred to Colorado because his father took a job to be the head coach at CU. All right, but if Shedeur, let's just take his averages and do it by one more season. You're talking about he almost had 7,000 passing yards over 2 years. So let's just call it 3,500 yards, and let's call it 40 touchdowns, 7 more interceptions total. You're looking at 110 touchdowns, only 21 interceptions if you expanded it to 3 years. 10,000 yards if you expanded it to 3 years. I mean, but we don't even have to do that. We'll just take the 2-year sample size. 79 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and is great in the dominance. We can't, and here's the thing. Here's also, for the people that lived during this era, what you will remember is the pure dominance Shedeur was and had as a quarterback opposed to all the other SWAC quarterbacks. You'll remember the reason why Jackson State was so good. They had an awesome defense. But their quarterback play, it was night and day between Jackson State's quarterback and the next best quarterback. Jackson's Shedeur Sanders and everybody else in the SWAC at the quarterback position. It was night and day. It was literally night and day. And that is why Jackson State was able to have so much success. When you found a quarterback as close to Shedeur that was able to do work on that defense, as good as that defense was, then that's when you had a duel with Davius Richard versus Shedeur. Now, Shedeur's freshman year, they weren't as good. But his sophomore year, you had a quarterback duel, Davius Richard versus Shedeur Sanders, and that is why that game goes down in history. It's the best Celebration Bowl anybody's ever seen. And when you reference that Celebration Bowl, you have to reference Shedeur Sanders. And so, yeah, I wouldn't put him over Air McNair, who spent 4 years in the SWAC, lit it up, threw the ball everywhere, and became a top 3 pick, became a Heisman finalist from, at the time, what was a 1AA Alcorn State. So, no, he don't get that over Air McNair. I wouldn't even give it over Doug Williams, someone who was drafted high in the NFL, won a Super Bowl, played for the legendary Eddie Robinson at Grambling State University. But top 5, after them two, it's hard to find somebody to put over Shedeur, even though it was only a 2-year sample size, even though it was brief, even though you could say it's tainted by the departure to Colorado. With all of that being said, it's hard to find a better resume than Shedeur Sanders. Tavares Jackson, who played in the NFL for a long time, he wasn't better than Shedeur in the SWAC. He wasn't. Bruce Eugene wasn't better. These guys weren't better than Shedeur. You're fooling, and this is someone from an outside perspective. After Doug Williams, after Steve McNair, I think you got to put Shedeur right there. And if he doesn't leave for Colorado after year 3, then we might be having an even different conversation. Maybe he's the best ever. But even with just 2 years, a 2-year sample size, stat padding or whatever you want to call it, 2-year sample size, the dude was a baller. And dude, and the further we get away from it, the people that lived during the era and watched him play, the further we get away from it, I think the ones who, the 33% that said no on my poll and the 75% that said no on the wild card poll, it's going to be a little different. It's going to be hard to tell kids when they look up the history books and look up the record books and see Shedeur Sanders' name littered all over it, to not say he wasn't one of the best ever to spin it in the SWAC. And that's just the fact. The man did what he did, and there's no taking it away. His legacy is cemented in stone, and it was one hell of a ride. Let's be honest, it really was. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Is Shedeur Sanders one of the greatest SWAC quarterbacks of all time? HBCU quarterbacks of all time. In the SWAC, definitely. And I think he's one of the greatest HBCU quarterbacks ever. After Doug Williams, after Steve McNair, there ain't too many people. It's hard to find somebody to put above Shedeur Sanders. But if you do think someone is above Shedeur Sanders, leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Please, please, please. I want to hear them. Leave them in the comments down below because, I don't know everything. My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube, Facebook, and wherever you get your content. Do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button before you get out of here. Like, share, subscribe, and the notification bell. Also, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. That is on Instagram and Twitter at JLightsy7. Is Shedeur Sanders one of the best ever? The answer is yes. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you next time. Peace.